how did you end up actually getting booked with Jim Crockett Promotions? Because that was one of the biggest companies at that time when you switched over there.
Well, I had actually quit wrestling because I was trying to get off drugs and trying to get some insanity stuff gone and in my life. And
just to get onto that for 1 second, I didn't realize you started the drugs like in Texas, I guess, in that time. So it started even before you were with Crockett Promotions.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was so I had gone to work for the Kansas City office, but once a month they ran St. Louis out of the Kansas City office, and so I got booked on that card with the angle that with Buzz Tyler, and so St. Louis had a big crowd. I mean, the champion was there, and Dory Funk Jr. was the booker in North Carolina at the time, and Jim Crockett was there, and all that kind of stuff. And Buzz Tyler and I had a great match. So they invited me to meet them at the Marriott where they were staying and have some cocktails afterwards. And after a couple of cocktails, I looked at Jimmy, because I'd already worked for him for 8 months when I first started. And I said, Jimmy, I said, if you'll hire me, I'll make you a lot of money. And he said, well, we'll talk about that on Monday when we're not drinking. So I called them and we talked, and they offered me a job. So I gave my notice in Kansas City and packed up the middle of February 1984 and drove to North Carolina. And their company at that time was not doing good business. It was really not.
Okay.
And
was Flair the top guy?
Well, Flair was the world champion.
Okay.
So he was traveling.
Oh, okay. So that's why.
Okay. Wahoo McDaniels was there. I mean, they had some good talent, but they had I forget just exactly. Jay Youngblood was there, and Steamboat I think had gone to New York at the time, and or he might have been there too, or he might have been somewhere else.
I think he may have been there right at the start, because I think when you won the TV title, you had a couple matches with him.
Yeah, we had Starrcade 1984. I wrestled Steamboat, so he was not. I forget where he was when I first got there. He wasn't there, taking time off, or in Japan or something. I'm not sure. But the business was not really good, and I beat Jay Youngblood for the TV title not too long in there, and Paul Jones started as my manager for a little while. They thought that was going to elevate me up the card quicker, and then in July, maybe August, in there. I mean, there's probably records of when it actually happened, but they let Dory Funk Jr. go as the booker, and they actually had a booker for every state, and then Dory Jr. was the head booker.
Okay.
And Wahoo was one of the states. Ernie Ladd was one of the states, and Gary Hart was one of the states.
'Cause they had just quickly 3 towns a night or something back then, right?
Yeah. We had 2 for sure, sometimes 3, but they had, like, Wahoo booked Virginia, and Gary booked I think North Carolina, and I think Ernie Ladd was South Carolina, I think. And so there was some confusion going on that was causing the businesses to be down. Because when I was there, when I first started, I mean, it was sellouts every night. Greensboro was just jammed and everything. So we made some adjustments when Dusty came in, and Dusty was trying to put his finger on all the right things to go, and he and I had, he asked to speak to me one night, and just very, very simply, asked me, because I had been a booker, and what would you do? I said, well, I'd always been told, if you need to get things going, you always put the best against the best. And so we had, Flair had not sure just exactly where he was with the World Championship and traveling, because it might have been one of those times that he let it, where he wasn't the champion for a little while. But Wahoo got matched with Flair, and Dusty and I got matched together, and that started turning the company around. And Blackjack Mulligan got involved for a little bit. I know that the first sellout when I went back at the Greensboro Coliseum was Flair and Mulligan against me and Wahoo. And Wahoo had switched heel for a little while, and that kind of catalyst got us going. And then once the territory started going, then it was easy to hire people, and that's when Magnum came in, and Arn came in, and the Rock and Roll Express came in. Over the next year, we put together a tremendous array of talent that were second to none. I mean, the guys could perform and draw money, and we were running 2 and 3 towns a night, and every one of them was drawing. And then by the end of 1985, and the territory was just exploding. Cable television, we had actually bought, Jim Crockett had bought the TV rights to the Superstation in Atlanta from New York, from Vince.
Okay.
Because Vince didn't want to go down there and do a TV show in the studio every
Which
week.
was part of the deal, I guess.
Which was a deal breaker.
You also mentioned yesterday one of the reasons you were teamed with Arn after that was because Ole Anderson was fired. Do you recall why Ole was fired?
No, he did something and said something or something, and somebody in Atlanta got cranked up, or he bowed up to I don't know, but I know that they let him go.
And I assume you already were pretty good friends with Arn, so you didn't mind.
Well, I mean, it was what it was, and I mean, it was the Horsemen thing had already started clicking, so I mean, it was crazy not to continue with it, but it was, we talked about that yesterday. The next version was trying to get Luger in and up to star status in a hurry.
Right.
And
because Barry left for WWE.
Yeah, Barry had gone, and but then Barry came back, and all that stuff happened, and then when Barry switched on Luger and Barry came part of the Horsemen, that's when the dynamics of Arn and I really started to change, because now you had a guy that could perform as good as anybody in the business, Barry Windham. Now he was a single, and so the natural movement was for me and Arn.
Did you get along? Did you get along well with Luger?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as well as anybody could. You know, I mean, we didn't try not to get along. So it was.
Yeah, because there's some conflicting stories about like how Lex Luger was in the dressing rooms, but I'm guessing because he got along well with Flair and you guys were a group that he probably wouldn't have given you guys much problems anyway.
Oh no, it was. I mean, he's a very bright guy, and he knew where the level of experience of the people that he was with, and he wasn't silly enough to bow up to that.
And what was it like wrestling the Road Warriors with when you were with Arn? Because they were still fairly unpolished in those days, I guess.
Oh no, they had their rough edges, but they always did. I mean, even when 10 years in, they had some rough edges, just because of what they were. But that's the ability that Arn and I had to flow in that, and they were easy for us to make look good. And you look at the matches; they just beat us up a lot.